Spain and Portugal were the first European nations to engage in the African slave trade. France, Holland, and Denmark also actively bought and sold African slaves. Slaves were taken from Africa to Europe, where they were either sold or shipped to the New World for sale. When Europeans began developing the resources of the Americas, they needed huge amounts of cheap labor. The Spanish and Portuguese forced large numbers of African slaves to work the gold and silver mines and the large sugarcane plantations in Mexico, Central and South America, and the Caribbean islands. Not all slaves in the American colonies were Africans. Early in the 1700s, about 25% of slaves in the colonies, such as the Carolinas, were Native Americans. From the 1500s through the early 1700s, a small number of white people were also enslaved. The first African slaves in America were taken to the English colony of Jamestown in 1619. British colonists in both the North and South owned slaves, but England did not take an active part in procuring slaves until after 1650. Eventually, the British dominated the slave trade. An Englishman, Sir John Hawkins, came up with the most efficient way of trading African slaves for profit. From England, his ships sailed to the west coast of Africa, where they traded goods for slaves. They then sailed directly to North America, where the slaves were sold or exchanged for goods made in the New World. Those goods were taken back to England and sold for a profit. Soon, other European nations followed the profitable triangular trade route. The second part of the voyage from Africa to the Americas came to be called the Middle Passage. At least 10 million Africans were forced into slavery between the 15th and 19th centuries. Some scholars estimate even higher numbers.